In February this year, an Indian satellite orbiting hundreds of kilometers above Earth did something that had never been done before by a private Indian company. It found the International Space Station moving at 7 kilometers per second, locked onto it, and photographed it. All of this from space. Now, here's the twist. The company behind this isn't ISRO. It isn't a defense giant. It's a Hyderabad firm that not long ago made a name for itself in healthcare and pharmaceuticals. It is called Azista Aerospace, and it is India's first private pioneer of in-orbit surveillance. Hello and welcome to The Print. My name is Soumya Pillai and I'm here to share insights into the work of Hyderabad-based aerospace and defense company that created ripples in the industry by demonstrating in-orbit snooping capabilities. The description also has the link to the tech story, which is a more detailed account of Azista Aerospace's work. Please do check that out as well. So how does a pharma company end up building spy satellites? The managing director, M. Srinivas Reddy, spoke to The Print from the company's headquarters in Hyderabad. Listen in.
So before we started Azista, I would like to give a brief about our parent company, which is a pharmaceutical company. The basic value systems of the pharmaceutical company is research. The more research you are able to do it, we have been able to bring in new products. So when we decided to go for diversification, we looked inside into a couple of areas which can play a very significant role for diversification. But our main motto of diversification is that research should continue in the new areas where we are also diversifying. After doing a lot of due diligence, maybe 10 years back, we took a decision. We'll venture into two areas. One is space, which is a new area fundamentally for us, which is a completely new area. But there's a lot element of research which can be done in that area. Second is composites, is an area which is directly a forward integration of our research in chemistry of humans to chemistry of materials. So we visualize that these are the two fundamental areas Azista will be focusing in as part of the new diversification program. And that's how Azista came up into place in 2016.
So currently at Azista, what are the areas that you guys are focusing on? What are the kind of R&D that's going into, the fundamental functioning of Azista?
So if you look inside, the Azista is focused in one is in space. Especially in space, we are focusing on working for ISRO in some of their components which are being used in various programs. And that was a learning curve for us because it's a new area, we don't have an understanding. So we thought that once you work with an organization like ISRO, which has developed a lot of technologies, which has mastered the science of space, we will also learn basic culture. And by working with them, our teams have understood, they have been trained by them also as part of the total mechanism into place. It gave a very good foundation to us as an organization that what are the challenges in terms of space, what are the quality requirements, and how do we need to visualize space as an independent entity. So it has given a very good long-term outlook for us. Looking inside into that outlook, we took a decision that space is a multi-functional area. Within the multi-functional area, Azista is focused in only few areas of space. The area of space where Azista focused is in optical payloads. That is the first area. Second area of focus for Azista is we want to be backward integrated as an organization so that we will be able to manufacture around 60 to 70% of their entire subsystems. Third area where we have focused very aggressively is that we want to be a mass manufacturer of satellites in the coming days. So we laid the foundation stone from an Azista's perspective. One is technology. One is ability to understand the technologies which we have learned from ISRO and going into a scale-up area. And then putting up an infrastructure to manufacture, have a mass manufacturing of the satellites. That is one area related to space. Another area is related to composites. If you look inside into the country, all the key composite materials which are directly used are imported in the country. And whatever the small work which has done in terms of composites was only 1 to 2% of the entire composite requirements was getting done in India. So 8 years back, we took a decision that why can't we play a very significant role in composites using our key strength of chemistry the parent company has given to this company. So we have put in a good team of young scientists with some experts into place and developed more than 25 products in terms of composites. Maybe we'll be the only Indian company who is having this much number of products, and we will also be among the top 5 global companies in terms of composite research basically, which is making a huge impact in terms of indigenization. Today, if you look inside to drone, we are in a position to offer the drone's entire composite materials indigenized for the nation. Maybe the basic raw material we will be importing it, but the entire structure which is required for a drone is made available from the smallest drones to the biggest male and hail drones also. We'll be in a position to offer it as part of our entire R&D work. So we believe that a good R&D in terms of development of technology is going to play a very important role. And what ISRO has done is providing an R&D for initial phase. And what Azista is looking up, converting the R&D of an initial phase into a mass manufacturing R&D. So we take the technological licenses from ISRO, we take the licenses from defense labs, but our objective is their licenses are designed for individual manufacturing. But how can we use the technology and skill sets to move to the mass manufacturing, which is going to play a significant role?
Now, coming to why Azista has made its mark in the domain of reconnaissance satellites. On February 3rd this year, Azista Aerospace's AFR satellite, short for Azista First Runner, photographed the ISS from roughly 300 kilometers away, then again from 245 kilometers, capturing it from 15 different angles. The resolution of these images was about 2.2 meters. Now, this might not sound like an extraordinary achievement in Earth terms, but we need to understand that achieving it in space is a serious technological leap. Azista Aerospace's director Sunil Indurti spoke to me about how this experiment was carried out. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, the director of Azista Space, Mr. Sunil Indurti. They are doing some stellar work in the defense and space sector, and we'll be having a conversation with him on the future plans of the company. Thank you so much for joining us at ThePrint today, sir.
Thank you, Samir.
Sir, just a month ago, Azista was in the headlines for capturing an image of the International Space Station. It was considered as, India's big breakthrough into spy satellites. If you could tell us a little bit about the technology demonstration that happened.
Right. So what we did was actually to capture another space object, right, orbiting the Earth at a very high speed of around 7 kilometers per second. Right? So in order to be able to demonstrate this kind of ability to capture another satellite or the details of the other satellite, there are a few different technologies that have to come together in order to be able to do that. One is to precisely calculate the position of the target object and then be able to maneuver and then focus to capture. So it involved a lot of work in flight dynamics as well as in planning this particular capture. So it is for the first time that an indigenously built satellite was able to demonstrate this capability. So this was done using the technology demonstration mission of Azista. And so this is basically more like a first step or a prerequisite to, let's say, doing some more detailed missions, which could involve very close capture, right, of target objects in space. This is a technology which enables you to actually service high-value assets in space, right? You need to know if you have to inspect an existing satellite of our own country to understand if something is wrong, or to understand how a repair has to be done, or even for refueling, the satellites at some point. So this is basically a fundamental technology which is useful for both civilian, commercial, as well as defense applications.
So this is just one of the projects that you've undertaken. Azista is doing some stellar work around research and development. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about the kind of work that's happening in Azista?
Sure. So again, we do a lot of work starting off from bare material level work, that is in composite materials. We develop materials that are useful for space applications, again, that are specially designed for functioning in vacuum. So those are indigenously developed. We are the only company in India that has, again, privately established company that develops materials exclusively for space applications. And we also produce them at scale. So these materials could be used to make structures of spacecrafts, of optical payloads, and so on. So that's a unique product that we develop at a fundamental level, at a material level. Having said that, I just told you about the mission that, or an experiment we did with, let's say, non-Earth imaging of a space object. So this is at a system level, which means a culmination of multiple different technologies. It includes flight dynamics, attitude control, and an ability to build hardware which can actually achieve this feat. Hardware which involves electronics, batteries, and optical payloads. So we do work in multidisciplinary areas, right? And then we are able to also develop systems that are able to deliver some unique capabilities. So that's in a nutshell of what is possible at Azista.
So some very exciting missions are in the pipeline for Azista, some which are going to be the first in the country itself. There is also some infrastructure development that you're doing in Gujarat. If you could give us a sense of that as well.
Sure. So next year we have a very unique mission coming through, which is a follow-on to the first mission that we launched in 2023. So the first mission was a 4 meter resolution and a 70 kilometer swath imaging payload designed for wide swath imaging for maritime and then agriculture applications. Having worked with that satellite, that satellite has been in orbit for about 3 years now. So having worked with the data, along with a number of our customers, we received a lot of valuable feedback that we've been able to incorporate in the next generation of missions, right? That we want to, as a follow-on, that we want to manufacture. So this would be a constellation of satellites that would provide the largest swath of any optical payload ever manufactured. And this would be about 500 kilometers of swath at 4 meters resolution. So that would mean you get a great amount of detail in a very wide swath image. And this mission would be able to image continuously for about 20 minutes also. So an extraordinary amount of data would be generated, and we would have an onboard edge computer which would have let's say our proprietary AI algorithms that would be able to process the data on board and then also generate analytics on board the satellite. So which means you don't have to downlink all the data that you actually generate using this payload, but rather you can generate intelligence that can be actionable, right? And then downlink only the actionable insights, which means you can, from tasking to delivery of actionable insights, it can be done in very, very short time. And to a huge amount of area can be covered. So this is something that we are bringing out next year in our follow-on mission. And apart from that, we are also developing a high-resolution optical payload, which will be manufactured in our upcoming optical payloads fabrication facility in Ahmedabad. So we are establishing a large optical payloads production facility in the Gujarat Space Park, which is established in just right outside Ahmedabad. And this is a one-of-its-kind project in India because it's an investment of about 500 crores dedicated only to production of optical payloads. And a number of the sub-elements, right, that are involved in the production of these payloads would be manufactured at Azista itself. So that's a fair amount of vertical integration that we did at Azista. And we would be able to produce these payloads at scale in order to meet our customers' requirements both in India and abroad. So these are a couple of things which are happening, and a number of technologies again that we are developing here are going to be manufactured at our optical payloads facility in Ahmedabad, and also at, in Hyderabad we have an AIT facility that is coming up. So Yeah, so we have a significant amount of infrastructure development that is happening to basically get into production of all the R&D that we've been doing for years now.
So my last question to you, some of the missions are immediately lined up, but what are the big plans that you have for Azista in the next 10 years? How is Azista planning to be the market leader?
So we don't look at it from yes, to be a market leader is a nice thought, but we look at the fundamentals, right? Are we doing the right things in order to build capabilities that enable us to be, let's say, cost effective, right? That enable us to generate value for customers. Today, a significant number of our customers are from outside of India, right? Who appreciate the kind of products that we develop and produce. So we want to continue to be at the forefront, right? Particularly coming from India, where we have certain advantages, right? We need to be able to utilize the advantages that we have of being an Indian company, and how can we position ourselves globally, right, as a capable provider that can again eventually enable us to, let's say, productionize whatever technologies. Our focus is to, R&D and development is just one part of the job. To actually be a commercial success, like let's say to be a market leader, one needs to be able to productionize. So that's something that we have to learn, and there's a long way to go. Like when you look at the likes of the Starlink, or there are a number of American manufacturers who've now already successfully figured out how to productionize constellations to produce 50 satellites or 100 satellites in a year. The supply chain systems, right, and all of those have been well established in the US. So that's where there is a lot for us to learn, right, and then be able to do it quickly so that we can also contribute a lot to the Indian space ecosystem. Right, so that's our vision. So to be able to move into productionization quickly.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. It was great talking to you and to get a sense of what Azista is doing in this space.
Thank you for the opportunity to share that.
But why does this matter beyond the engineering feat? Because the world is already fighting wars from space. Earlier this year, Iran reportedly used a Chinese spy satellite to target US military bases across West Asia. The global military satellite market is on track to touch nearly $39 billion by 2035. Space is no longer just a scientific frontier. It has become strategic. And India knows this. The government has already fast-tracked a program to deploy 52 dedicated surveillance satellites, which is a whopping 27,000 crore rupee initiative over the next decade. The AFR satellite weighs just about 80 kilograms. It's relatively small, but it has demonstrated that compact, privately built systems can deliver high-end strategic capability. The company is already working on more advanced sensors that could significantly improve resolution, making it possible to observe objects in orbit in far greater detail. By 2027, the company plans to launch a full satellite constellation capable of covering a 500-kilometer ground swath, with onboard computers processing data in real time without even needing to transmit it back to Earth. The team is also heavily investing in expanding infrastructure beyond Hyderabad. The goal is to have end-to-end capabilities in the aerospace and defense sector, capabilities that can give its global competitors a run for their money. That was all from me. I am Soumya Pillai for ThePrint.